Okay, good day again and welcome back for our next presentation and next lecture. It is the continuation of the chapter 2, which is the review of related literature. So I have to start with this presentation as regardless of our level of comfort when referring to students as customers, the bottom line is that there are principles from the customer service literature that higher education institutions can adopt to empower students to be successful instead of getting caught up in the semantics of what to call students. The focus should deliberately shift to helping students make the most of their experiences on our college campuses by infusing principles from the customer service literature. Institutions of higher education can help retain and graduate their students. In order to validate the impact of consumer behavior, one has to determine and evaluate the state of the satisfaction of the consumers rather say. According to Thomson 2011, evaluation of the customer's satisfaction can be done in several steps. One is encourage face-to-face dealing. This is usually a form of dialogue than action dealing, since this is the most daunting and downright scary part of the interacting with a customer. Every office and department and the university always deal with thousands of students daily that require face-to-face dealing, that require service with quality every time. They pay their tuition fees, inquire about their grades and status as the teachers advises, and etc. So in this matter, considering the quality service to the customers as the students, we should have patience in dealing with this. Mentioned by Thomson, the evaluation of the customer satisfaction, the face-to-face dealing with the students as the customers is very, very important. Why? Because we have a due direct contact with them. Because without them, as I could say, they are the one who give profit revenue to the organization or to the university. So have to deal with them in a nice way, in a courteous way, and have patience always to them. Okay? Next is respond to messages, requests, and inquiries promptly and keep students informed. This goes without saying really. The service provider should recognize how annoying it is to wait days for a response to an inquiry or request of a student. For example, request of transcript of records or even statement of accounts or copy of their evaluation paper. It might not always be practical to deal with all customers' queries within the space of a few hours, but at least the service provider must give assurance that the request will be acted upon the soonest possible, as cordially as possible. Even if you're not able to solve a problem right away, let the customer know you're working on it. For those in charge of the student services should recognize that these parts of their jobs should be given utmost consideration and attention. Be friendly and approachable with the use of power smile as the basic principle. the service provided should accept that it's very important to be friendly, courteous, and to make the students like their friends, and the service provider are always there to help them out. Even in situations that they feel that they want to beat students that are difficult to deal with or manage over the head repeatedly with a blunt object, or shout at them, or get seriously angry with them. It's vital that they keep a clear head, respond to students' wishes as best they can, and at all times remind the courteousness to them. It is always very important to have a clearly defined customer service policy. Cleared customer service policy is going to give a lot of time and effort in a long run. Here, as response to the messages, promptly and student informed. When we say about promptly, right away, what is being needed by the students, we have a due answers to what it is being asked. Say, for example, as mentioned here, that requesting for the TOR, or the so-called transcript of records. So, in the transcript of records, we have to give them an ample time. That the transcript of record, when they requested today, it is not right away today they will get it. Because there is also a process, considering the fact that there are a lot of students who get into out of it. So, you give a series of time, days, to return back in order to have the so-called files that they are asking. Aside from the transcript of records, we have the statement of account, where in fact, if how much is their balance, the balance that they used to pay during the evaluation, payment of the tuition before the examination time. So those of these, we are all considerate to the students, and most specifically, our basic principle is a smile. Smile is the very important, so that we will not be hurting their feelings by means of our smiling to them. Okay? Next. The customer satisfaction and service quality. So here, since customer satisfaction has been considered to be based on the customer's experience on a particular service encounter, it is aligned with the fact that service quality is a determinant of customer satisfaction, because service quality comes from outcome of the services from service providers and organizations. It is stated by Zitlan et al. 2006 that definition of customer satisfaction relates to a specific transaction. So the difference between predictive service and perceived service, and contrast with attitude, which are more enduring and less situational oriented. So here, the very important is our attitude on how to deal with them. Though we are angry, but do not show to them that we angry with them. So in a nice way that in deep inside we hurt, our feelings are being hurt, but do not show to them, because they will be affected on what our behavior is. So regarding the relationship between the customer satisfaction and service quality, the first suggestion is that service quality would be antecedent to customer satisfaction, regardless of whether this construct were cumulative or transaction specific. Some researchers have found empirical support for the view of the point mentioned above. Customer satisfaction came as a result of service quality and relating customer satisfaction and service quality. Researchers have been more precise about the meaning and measurements of satisfaction and service quality. In this regard, satisfaction is always be the end point. They will satisfied on what we are giving to them. They will stay, they will encourage other friends, and we will have a long way with them. Okay? The customer satisfaction and service quality. Since customer satisfaction has been considered to be based on the customer's experience on a particular service encounter, it is in line with the fact that service quality is a determinant of customer satisfaction, because service quality comes from outcome of the services from service provided in organizations. So, Citan et al. 2006 stated that definitions of customer satisfaction relate to a specific transaction. The difference between predictive service and perceived service, in contrast with attitudes, which are more enduring and less situational oriented. So, regarding the relationship between customer satisfaction, quality, the first suggestion, that service quality would be antecedent to customer satisfaction regardless of whether this construct were cumulative or transient specific. Some researchers have found empirical support for view of the point mentioned above. Customer satisfaction came as a result of service quality. Relating customer satisfaction and service quality, researchers have been mentioned precise about the meaning and measurements of satisfaction and service quality. So, to make the story short, we are dealing with the service quality of our customers as the students. If we are giving them the lecture, we give them the most of it. Do not take it for granted, because they will know it that we are doing it, take it for granted situation. The students or the clients or the customers will be get out from us. Okay? Okay, to continue about the related studies. When we say about related studies, we are referring to studies who has a relationship with the one that current research that I am doing. So in related studies, regardless of our level of comfort when referring to students as customers, the bottom line is that there are principles from the customer service literature that higher education institution can adopt to empower students to be successful, instead of getting caught up in the semantics of what to call students. The focus should deliberately shift to helping students make the most of their experiences on our college campuses by infusing principles from the customer service literature. Institutions of higher education can help retain and graduate their students. Based on the traditional belief that accepted rule in marketing that customer is always right, which has been turning the most of the successful business in which their management staff would consider that satisfying customer is easy task, for it involved giving discount coupons and or free candies, or giving away even free balloons. But psychologically speaking, there are several ways of determining customer satisfaction, and some which are discussed in this study. But the real point is that customer satisfaction doesn't start with the customers but with some entities like an inn, house evaluation with their employees. Customer satisfaction usually reflects how employees are satisfied. Job, that is, employees' level of satisfaction on their job is a manifestation of the satisfaction. The quality of the customer satisfaction is, of course, a reflection of the employee satisfaction. The employee happiness usually results in outstanding customer satisfaction. Here, we are imposing the so-called customer is always right. The customer is always right but not applicable to the students. The students will not be anytime they are right, but the teachers, the professors should be the boss in the classroom. They should be the one to lead the good for the students. The only need is to be guided whatever is good to them or not. And the quality education and as well as the services should be given to them. Okay? Following next is measuring and managing quality in higher education institutions. When quality is taken into consideration, higher educational institutions is usually facing the challenge of the difficulties of proving that the quality of their service for several considerations and reasons. Like for example, quality would mean differently to several people, groups and institutions, in other words, institutions. For the SEIs is the higher education institutions, there are internal, external stakeholders who might have different and even contradictory meanings of concepts about quality. So quality in education is not a clear and will always have controversial concepts. It has not clear meanings or definitions, especially if one will consider the point of view of stakeholders. Because of this, the measurement and management of quality is very much easier said than done. So, we are referring to the higher education institution. This higher education institution, it is the college level of education. So, why we have to mold them? We are molding them because they are the stakeholders. When we say about the stakeholders, the one who will benefit from whatever it is either the employees, the students, the community, the schools, the owners, the staff, and even the professors. They are the stakeholders of the company or of the organizations. Okay? Okay. Here, We have the next issue that the higher education institutions should always take into consideration, especially if they take things of what the external stakeholders do that influence it, i.e., pursuit of providing quality education. Example, the Commission on the Higher Education. It is considered as CHED. So CHED is quality assurance. That quality assurance refers to the plan and systematic actions necessary to provide adequate confidence that a product or service will satisfy given requirements for quality. Borahan and Sharafi 2002. Furthermore, it has been accepted that to sustain and continuously improve their abilities to assure quality, they have to meet the requirements of continuously demonstrating acceptable actions and performance in their professional practices and accountability they must always strive to accomplish. Something in using their resources, which is an important part of their quality assurance, is usually under accreditation in other evaluation mechanisms, particular mechanisms to assurance such as accreditation in quality audits are usually imposed by governments and other external bodies. Harvey of 2005 suggests that accountability underpins these processes, but under the banner of efficiency and effectiveness. SEI, or the Higher Education Institute today should be learning organizations in which processes are used. The different stakeholders, both internal and external, make their rules and evaluation and assessment of the quality members. So here, as mentioned by the CHED, or the Commission on Higher Education, these are the committing body who are the one who will give accreditation to the different institutions, regardless if it is a public or the private institution, that they have to pass the quality of education. And one assurance of this to pass is the accreditation. In accreditation, we have the so-called 10 areas to consider. And as I mentioned before, research is on the number 5 areas to consider. So the faculties should present research for every semester at least one. It is a must to have a research so that they would gain more knowledge and impart to the development of the institutions or any organization body. It also benefits the stakeholders. When we say about stakeholders, internally and externally they have. In the internal stakeholders, they have the so-called the administrators, the owners, the employees, the faculties, and the staff. And the external stakeholders, definitely, they have the students, the community, the social groups, and the other organization, even the competing schools could be the stakeholders. Okay? In addition, Adeheba and Wilson of 2002 suggest that the higher education institutes are now also required to become learning organizations. where internal stakeholders also interpret and assess the quality of the higher education provision. The emphasis of internal stakeholders is not only on quality assurance, but also on quality enhancement, which means for an overall increase in the actual quality of teaching and learning, often through more innovative practices. Experts suggest that quality enhancement focuses on quality is, and this is our empowerment, enthusiasm, expertise, and excellence. This empowerment, if you are knowledgeable enough, you will empower everything because you have the knowledge. That's why it is being imparted by the professors to the clients, to the customers, which are the students. Enthusiasm, you have the eagerness to learn. Expert, in this expert, in a way that we have the so-called areas of specialization. In areas of specialization, we have the major concentration of studies. Since the course is the College of Business Administration, we are dealing on the business administration according to the major of expertise of the students that they want to get into, like major in marketing management, major in business management, and the other major is the human resource development management. All of that, they have to deal with the experts and the excellence. The graduates of a university, they are looking forward to be the excellent one, and it could become the so-called globally competitive, not only locally but globally competitive. So the quality enhancement initiatives tend to be less clearly defined and are often more diverse than quality assurance initiatives in HE, or the higher education mechanism adopted by internal stakeholders, are likely to include self-evaluation practices and students' feedback, as students are viewed as an internal part of the learning process. Where Longkid in 2003, this type of evaluation tends to be more formative in nature and therefore more likely to lead to continual quality improvement efforts. Furthermore, the involvement of internal stakeholders often results in a culture of quality management being embedded program. So in this case, once and for all, the quality. If you teach students without quality, the students will be nothing at all. They could graduate, but they do not have knowledge. It should have, give the most of it, as I mentioned a while ago about the fairness giving to the stakeholders. They are stakeholders of the organization. And we have also the self-evaluation. This self-evaluation is called as, I myself would evaluate on how is my teaching knowledge methods imparted to the students. So I could rather evaluate myself as very satisfactory. So out of that, the student will evaluate also. They give feedback to all the professors that they have. And out of the feedback, the deans, the coordinators, the leaders of the organization could look into it and make sure that they have the so-called post-conferences. The post-conference, they are telling the weaknesses of the professor, the weaknesses and strength, of course, so that they are aware. Okay? Next. Yes. The second reason why quality is difficult to manage and the higher education is due to the complicated nature of the educational product. Education has been viewed as a system or a network of interdependent components that work together to try to accomplish the aim of the system. And the system consists of input, transformation, processes, and outputs. Saneyet et al. 2004 advised that in education there are human, physical, and financial resource input that undergo processes including teaching, learning, research, administration, and knowledge transformation. The quality of teaching and learning, therefore, becomes central in a system perspective. Still, other advises that high-quality teaching is fundamentally about high-quality learning, which is context-related, uncertain, and continuously improvable. One can also add that high-quality learning must focus on the development of meaning as characterized by deep learning approaches rather than on reproduction. However, cautions that high-quality teaching does not always result in the high-quality learning or vice versa. Here, they are mentioning about the high-quality learning again. Repeated and repeated the so-called the high quality of learning. This high quality of learning is benefited is the clients, the customers who are the students in every school, institution, colleges, or universities. And the outputs of the education system can be tangible, intangible, or value addition through, for example, examination results, employment, earnings, and satisfaction. Harvey of 1995 argues, however, that there is no discernible end products of the higher education institution as the transformative process continues to make an impact after the completion of the higher education institute suggested that if the desired output of higher education institute increase capabilities and knowledge embedded within the transformed students, including an enhanced capability for learning, then the system model is appropriate provided there is recognition for the student within all three system components. In this matter, as I mentioned about the outputs, when we mention about the outputs, it is the result of all the efforts. It could be tangible or intangible. Meaning, for example, we imparted knowledge, we teach the students. The result of that is based from the examination results. The examination results, not all students will get the higher grade. Not all students will get the lower grade. But we have to know that they learn from us. Because as a result of the examination, there are courses, especially in the college, that we have the board examination. The board examination, it is a government body giving students who finish a certain course. Say, for example, you finish an engineering course or even accountancy course. You have to take the government examination, and that examination is being given by the governing body that you have to pass. So that that passing the examination, it is one way of your employment. You could employ easily if you pass that. Or, in a way or another, if you do not have the board exam, you have the higher grade as the result of the evaluation also. In employment, we are happy, the professors are happy if the students are being employed immediately right after graduation, and they earn out of this employment, and they could help not only to the parents but even to a community, to the government by paying taxes. They are helping the economic stability of the nation. So earning and satisfaction, the very end point of it. Okay. Yes, to continue. Despite their support for viewing education as a system, Sanehe et al. 2004 suggests that this creates further difficulty in conceptualizing quality because the different components, parts of the system, have different requirements. The literature suggests that there have been a number of different attempts to articulate the dimensions of quality in the higher education bid for services. One of the most clearly defined sets of dimensions of quality for the higher education has been identified by Harvey. According to him, quality can be broken down into 5 different but related dimensions. These include quality as exceptional, take note, for example, high standards, quality as consistently, for example, 0 defects, quality as fitness for purpose, fitting customer specification, quality as value for money, has efficiency and effectiveness, quality as transformative, an ongoing process that includes empowerment to take action and enhancement of customer satisfaction. In that matters, when we mention about quality, excellence, there are also exceptions. In the golden rules, there is an exception to the rules. What are they? Example of the high standard. There are such schools who has considered as the very high standards of system of education, that for them, they want that all students got on the higher grade. If you have to get in a lower, you will be removed from the university. So it is exemption to the quality that we are aiming to try to understand the body. The quality consistency, for example, 0 defects. This 0 defects, if you are manufacturing, certainly you are manufacturing a certain product, that the finished output, it is all in good quality. There are factories that sometimes, though it is being done by the experts, but the defects is always being considered given. But as an exemption, you want the 0 defect. Quality of fitness, so fitting customer specification. If I like that one, I should be I have to get that, whatever it is. So, there is an advice that quality as transformative can incorporate the other dimensions. To some extent, in the first 4 dimensions are not necessarily end products themselves. It has been argued that different stakeholders are likely to value the importance of these different dimensions of quality according to their particular motivations and interests and interpret them differently. For example, quality as the money is likely to be judged differently even by various internal stakeholders. Students may judge value for money according to tuition fees paid versus contract time, whereas a department manager is likely to be more concerned with the effective resources in relation to students' numbers. Okay. As quality we are referring, we have to incorporate also to the different staff, to the different stakeholder rather. For example, that if you want the good quality, if it is in the private schools, that they have to pay more, pay high. If they are being paid higher, they will be compensated with a good quality also. But it is regardless to the quality transformation. So it is one basis of the accreditation, this quality education by the internal stakeholders. As I mentioned a while ago, it has a direct relation to the students, of course. And okay, research has found that quality can be measured in a variety of different ways. Quality as exceptional describes quality as exceeding high expectations. Quality measured in a manufacturing setting would often be described as quality as perfection or consistency, since this organization place a high value on eliminating the number of defects in its operations. Quality that meets customer requirements would be described as quality as fitness for purpose. This definition is one of the more appropriate measures in a higher education setting, as it helps to describe why students are coming to a university. Quality is related to cost, is quality as value for money. Finally, quality as transformation describes processes that bring about a qualitative change, which in a university setting might be skill or knowledge enhancement or increased confidence for students, said by Lagrosen et al. 2004. So here, they are mentioning about quality has an exemption, as I mentioned. But quality, there are expectations that we have to consider. And quality also could come into the students coming in the university. So if ever that there are more enrollees in a certain university, they have good quality. And there are also universities that there are more enrollees because they are referring to the quality of value for money. Value for money, more enrollees, more income, more revenue, profits at the same time, as being mentioned a while ago. Okay? And Robert and Esteron of 2009 indicated that students who need not return for the fall 2008 semester or change majors to another area had is statistically significant lower perception of social connectedness and satisfaction with faculty approachability than students who return. Shago of 2005 on the other hand, stated that quality education access to general student facilities and study assistance play a vital role in preparation of the students for their future careers. It is important for the institution to have an understanding of how the total experience of students affect their teaching in learning and establishing if the students are satisfied with the way in the institution prepare them for their future careers. So meaning, this quality again, it is statistically significant. It mentions that if how many students who graduated, it should be varied if they are all employed after their graduation. But as a survey says that not all graduated students are all employed after graduation. Maybe because there are graduates who are choosy about the courses, jobs, and career. Why they are choosy? They want to employ with the knowledge that they get from the school. That's why they could go on their career that they need a long period of time looking for career path. But there are graduates that they are looking for a job. When we say about jobs, whatever the available or vacant job, they employed to it. In that matters, they are easily could employ. So the quality now are being counted statistically. So why they do not want to be employed? Most of the graduates are employed in the BPO business, the business processing organization, which in other way around called as the call centers. In the Philippines, in our country, there are more call centers agents. So it is the best way the graduates would easily employed. Though it's not a graduate, but the different unemployed, the different courses regarded of age, they could employ on that kinds of job also. And in order not to be a jobless. Okay. One study had the following as their findings among the respondents. The male respondents were 411, thus representing the 75% of the total population, whereas the female respondents were 139, and thus representing the 25 respondents of the total population. All the respondents are undergraduate students. Take note. Majority of the students' population were between 18 to 24 years of age group. There is a significant correlation among all the construct with student satisfaction. The factor 1 is by far the most important, accounting for the largest proportion of the variance, which is the 34%, with angle values greater than 3 or 10.596. This factor includes a group of statements related to environment and facilities of the university. And is labeled here, tangibles. Asadas Saman, Moyasim, Hossain, and Mahabubur Raham of 2013. It is the finding of their studies. In this matter, we are trying to have the knowledge about the respondents. There are total respondents which dominated by the female. Why dominated by the female? In every situation, in other population, there are a lot of female and the male is secondary. Then, of all the respondents, there are undergraduate students. When we say undergraduate, they did not finish their course. In this ages from 18 to 24, there are students, if they start in class as early as 5 years old, they could easily finish within 18 years old, and some as higher as 24 years old. So this group of graduates as a student, they usually prefer the different kinds of jobs. Some they want to be employed in their path of courses that they studied, and some they did not, which I mentioned about the BPO, which is the call center agents or the call center businesses, as the result of the studies mentioned by, as I mentioned, the Asaduzaman Moyusim Hussain and Habibur Rahman of 2013. Okay? Aru Kiyasami and Abdullah of 2012 conducted a study of the different Malaysian universities and colleges in order to determine the level of student satisfaction with their current services. Objective-wise, the study intends to compare and determine the possible differences in terms of level of satisfaction across gender and various programs, disciplines. The researchers made use of a well-structured questionnaire, has been distributed and retrieved for sample of 245 students. The study was conducted at a university in Selangor, and data was collected from the 12 different disciplines and or programs. 10 major dependence variables were included. These are the teachings, administrative, management support, transportation, library, the computer laboratory, and general laboratory, accommodation, medical, support, sports, player, religious, facilities, and the classroom facilities. The different computed means analysis reflected students satisfied with the core services and facilities like teaching, administrative support, library labs, accommodation, medical and sports with dissatisfaction has been reported only in the 3 argumented areas like transportation, classroom, and prayer facilities. The result of the study shown no significant differences of the opinion have been recorded among male or female respondents. Over the satisfaction level is high, and result indicated satisfaction of the university, college students on educational services performed by the private education institution in Malaysia. So as studies as mentioned that there is no significant result. So regardless what ages is the students, as long as they could perform well, they give the good quality education on the private education system, it is possible to have the good quality result of education. So they have also accreditation. In this accreditation is usually the same with this as mentioned about the core services, the facilities, or it is the teaching, the administrative support, library, the laboratories, accommodation, the student services that I am referring. The facilities like the teaching, the administrative support, library, labs, and all of these are being supported by the result of the survey, and there are only limited dissatisfaction because as the result survey says that it is recorded on the male and female respondents, so it does not mention here if how many males and how many females, but if the sample is the 245 students, both the males and the females, okay, as reported in the study. So no significant difference. When they say about no significant difference recorded, regardless of the males, regardless of the female, regardless of the age, regardless of the course, no significance. So they have to get it the good quality education per se. Okay. Here we have the so-called synthesis. When we say about synthesis, this is to synthesize the related literature. The related literature related to the study of accreditation being accreditation research is concerned, of the good quality services, education, as the stakeholders, as the customers, as the clients of the university. So the synthesis stated that the different conceptual literature presented in this chapter discuss the concepts of customers in how an organization works for their satisfaction. Another important concept discussed is on quality assessment and enhancement of the quality among the higher education institutions, wherein the series of Boyd of 2012 provided the researchers significant insights on how the study would be conducted. The study conducted by Ananta Ra A. Arokiasamy and Dr. Abdul Ghani bin Abdullah of 2012 is very much similar or almost the same in this study because level of satisfaction on the quality of service were the same. So the other studies were similar to the current studies in the sense they all deal with customer, the quality of services, in how to measure and assist customer satisfaction. In this way, I am synthesizing that there are different quality assurance. There are conceptual literature stated in this chapter, which is chapter 2, that there are studies related to the good quality, to the accreditations, to the services. There are only one factor involved, and this factor is to satisfy the customers. How could be satisfied? The internal stakeholders. These internal stakeholders are the students, of course. As I said before and now and in the future, that we the professors give a total quality to the students so that the students will return back to us whatever that they get learned from us. Some students of mine, when they employed and they are in a position already, they earn more than us, they return back to the university. Then tell us that they tell more about themselves, the work that's being done, It's either in the industry or in the academy, as long as they are employed. They show to us that they want to thank not only the professor but even to the alma maters of the university, that they are in a good work, that they owe that all to the school, to the college, to the university, to any institutional body. In that case, the quality of education that they receive, it could not be bought by the highest money. It should be in their mind already that even they get old, they have the knowledge that's being earned from the professors that they get. So, I would rather say that as I finish the chapter 2, I have to continue for another chapter, for another presentation, which is on the chapter 3. And on the coming chapter, we will be dealing with the methodology of research. But the future researchers, as I mentioned in chapter 1, you already have your titles. You have 3 titles, but you only select one, which is your best. As I mentioned before, you write your statement of the problem. Then out of the problem, you proceed now with the introduction. You do now with the background. And then later, you have to go and proceed my format. Then, you will come out with the chapter 2. In the chapter 2, you must be guided with the so-called review of related literature. And this review of related literature is important in the research because if ever you will go on conducting a research, it consists of at least 1/4 of your studies is the review of related literature. It is a combination, not necessarily books, but aside from books, we have the journal, we have the other publication, we have the research, and of course the latest one, you have the internet. As I go and I proceed on the last ending of the presentation, on the last chapter, I will show it to you, the different references materials that the research get into it. So, you start digging any information on what kind of topics you want to go on research. You go to the different library. It's either in online or in the library of your different schools or university. You start now getting information, and you start also searching it from the net, the different topics you want, and you have to copy and do not forget to cite where it could came from. It is the very important factor. In the introduction, it is your own introduction. When we say about own introduction, do not copy first from anybody a statement or word that is related to the studies, because it is the introduction. It is your own words that would impart that to any researchers, that it is not copied, it's your own. Then you will only copy it when you go on chapter 2, because there are related studies which is similar to your studies, and I hope you understand whatever I am teaching you, so that you could go on and proceed with what kind of research you want to put up, or what kind of research you want to finish, and you will go in a long way. As I said, you must be guided accordingly. So, happy making chapter 2. So do not make it a point that you do not cite the resource. You cite everything copied. Do not put it, it's your own, which is not yours. You cite, okay? I hope that everybody understand, and see you in my next presentation, in my next chapter. And thank you for listening. Thank you for listening. And this time, okay. So, okay. So, and the next is on the chapter